Hi, this is Elan,
And Andrew Schulman.
and this is our Prezi on the chapter In the Cathedral and the Trial. Alright, so first we're going to give you a brief plot summary. The chapter starts out with Kay sitting in his room, and he has an appointment to meet with a man by the name of the Italian, and he is supposed to show him around the bank and explain to him and show him the different works of art that they have. When Kay eventually shows up to his meeting, the Italian suggests that instead of just viewing art, they go to the cathedral. However, when Kay arrives at the cathedral, the Italian is not there, and instead he's confronted by the priest.
After he is confronted by the priest after he was wandering the cathedral alone for a while, the priest tells him a story about the court, and the story is about a gatekeeper and a man, and the gatekeeper he's gatekeeping this entrance into the law, and the man wants to enter the law, but he's not allowed. The gatekeeper says the first of important statements in the story. He cannot let the man into the law just now. This infers that he might be able to enter the law at a later point, and because of this inference, it could be argued that the gatekeeper is deceiving the man. As the story goes on, the man ends up spending his whole life waiting to be let into it, rather than just simply walking in. And at the end of the man's life, the gatekeeper decides to tell him the second important statement from the story, that the entrance was intended for you alone. Throughout this story, we could see multiple similarities of characteristics of the court and what the gatekeeper talks about. The gatekeeper says that the man keeps trying to bribe him with different bribes, and he says, "I'm only accepting this so you'll not think that there's something you have omitted to do." This is similar to Kay's situation, because throughout the story, Kay is doing everything that he could possibly do for his court. Like, he wanted to write a submission about his entire life, and how he could explain every action so that he can feel that he is perfectly free and that he shouldn't be accused. Another quote that is important is the gatekeeper says that it is claimed that he does not know the inside of the law, only the path outside the entrance, which he has to keep walking up and down. This is similar to the work of the lawyers, as we saw that the submission of the lawyer was it wasn't really about law, just kind of like the outside, and it was like he had to walk up and down the law without really going into it.
Alright, so now we're going to move over to the characters in the chapter. We have Kay, who's obviously the main character of the novel, and he's confronted by the priest. We talked about this. The deputy manager has a small role in this chapter. He just tells Kay that he has a meeting, and when Kay ponders about the manager, and he thinks that he's going to be going through his personal files while he's on the meeting with the Italian, so he doesn't really trust this guy. The Italian, he is the one who has the meeting with Kay and never shows up to the cathedral. And then
Lenny calls Kay, which is kind of weird because in the previous chapter, Kay dismissed his lawyer with it, which was really like his only connection with Lenny. He essentially severs his ties with Lenny, so it leads us to the question of why he's still communicating with her. And Lenny also says that they're hunting you down in reference to the court, which kind of foreshadows Kay's later confrontation in the church. There's also two other minor characters in the chapter, which are the sexton and the old woman, who are the only other two characters in the church. The sexton tries to silently communicate with Kay, and Kay just kind of characteristically like feels superior towards him and kind of makes him scared and just follows around. And the old woman is just kneeling before a picture of the Virgin, looking at it, and just kind of praying in the church.
Right, and then there's the priest who mentions that he is a prison chaplain, which means that he is related to the court. And he knows about Kay's trial, and he knows everything. He knows Kay, he knows everything about him, and he was expecting him at the cathedral. So the Italian was acting as sort of a messenger, so to bring Kay to the cathedral.
Alright, so connecting the themes to the characters and their development, we see that Kay is fearful and devotes all of his time to the trial. Um, which has always been a characteristic of him throughout the novel. He's always devoted all of his time to the trial. And we see that as the trial progresses, all of his active mindset is to deal with the trial.
Yeah. Another reoccurring theme in the trial is Christianity, of course, because the majority of the chapter takes place in the cathedral, and obviously the priest is a member of the Christian hierarchy, and
This leads to our class discussion about how the trial as a book can kind of relate to the Christian hierarchy, and that each level of the Christian hierarchy is similar to like the levels of the judges and the fake lawyers and the real lawyers, and like how it just kind of it kind of matches up, and the highest level is God, and but like we never really connect with God, which is kind of like in the novel the main judge who gives a verdict. Like throughout the book, we they never really know whether they're right or wrong.
right. Also, when in the priest story that tells Kay, he mentions that the first gatekeeper can't even bear to look at the third gatekeeper, which could suggest that the third gatekeeper may in fact be God himself. All right. Also, Kay feels superiority over others, which is happens throughout the book, but in this case, Kay feels superior over Sexton. He kind of mocks him as he follows him around the court. He has a little smirk on his face. Alright.
Like I said, this leads us to the main idea of the chapter, which happens to be within the last paragraph. Kay is speaking. Is a dialogue between Kay and the priest, and he says, "You are the prison chaplain," said Kay. And the priest responds, "That means I belong to the court. So why should I want anything from you? The court does not want anything from you. It receives you when you come and dismisses you when you go."
So this basically helps us understand most of the book. Like when Kay basically when he first shows up to the court, it happens whenever he gets there, and everything he does happens when he wants it to happen. He is in control of everything, and this is um, a clear sign of how that happens.
This kind of makes us question if this is the final verdict in his case, whether his dealings with the court are over or not. Because now that he understands this, if he doesn't come, then the court won't be there to receive him, so he doesn't really have to deal with the court. Which this was interesting because it was kind of like one of the first things that we came up with it as a class. That it just kind of like accommodated his schedule, and like he just kind of doesn't need to deal with it at all.
Thank you for listening, and see you later.